Back in the Chaim. So on Hilchos Korban Pesach. So just to review, before we make his next step. So what Chaim wants to say is that there's a difference between matzah and Korban Pesach. Whereas by matzah, the chiyuv and the halachic reality of matzah emerge together, because the moment you're chayiv in matzah, now matzah becomes something. Now it doesn't matter if it's a chetz or not, but it becomes something at that point. The halachic requirements of matzah emerge with the chiyuv itself, versus saying there's an idea by Korban Pesach where he wants to say that the hakravas korban, the generic idea of korban, which includes hakrava and ol abailim, exists conceptually prior to the onset of the chiyuv. So since it exists conceptually prior to the onset of the chiyuv, the katan, he's not mufka from ikar dinim, therefore there's an avenue that allows him to register something. So whatever that something is, we know one thing: the chovas Pesach is removed, and that's why he's pater from Pesach Sheni. Yeah, 1 second. Again, uvemes nira. Now, so he wants to say that he wants to go further now. He wants to say in the area of kiyama mitzvah, you can differentiate between matzah and Pesach. Okay, what does that mean? I don't know. So now we got a big problem. So Pesach, okay, slowly, the ikar mitzvah falls upon the chefsa of the Maisa mitzvah. Yeah. So again, in just reading this, it doesn't make any sense whatsoever, right? How do you have if someone doesn't understand the brisker derech, they'll say, "Oh, this makes perfect sense," right? You have a chefsa shel Maisa mitzvah.
Yeah. Which one's a mitzvah?
I don't even know how to translate that.
So I don't even know what.
So what is the chefsa of the Maisa mitzvah? Right? It's what?
The Maisa is the
kravas korban shalolo.
Right.
Okay.
No, chefsa is the korban.
Now, through the method that the korban is ol l'shem ba'alav, okay, have kiyama mitzvah shabo memela. So through the mechanism of korban being tied, of baal being tied to korban, of the baal being tied to the korban, meaning, how do we translate it in Pesach terms? What ties the minoi? Right. So via the system of minoi, which exists where
before,
prior to the chiyuv.
So what? The minoi exists before.
Yeah, the reality of minoi exists prior to the onset of the chiyuv. Okay. So now he's saying that in that substratum framework, he says that there's a kiyam mitzvah. There's a kiyam mitzvah there. So therefore, the kiyam mitzvah is nases memela. So that's what you have to explain. So therefore, you can say, since we're in the substratum ikar din area geographically, so therefore the kiyam mitzvah can be chal and katan.
The ikar din is a kiyam?
No, the ikar din is the hakravas korban. The reality of korban. Hold on. No, not the chiyuv. It's the halachic reality of korban that exists prior to the onset of the chiyuv. Unlike matzah.
That's the ikar
That's din. That's the ikar din. That's what he means. Okay? So here in this area, okay, by virtue of the fact that the katan can be part of the din through minoi, and since he is not mufka from din, right? And since this exists prior to chova, therefore he wants to say there's kiyam mitzvah here. Kiyam mitzvah. Right. So you can't tell me katan is mufka from ikar dinim. Right? Of course, here it's not that he's mufka from it, but here it can't emerge because these two emerge simultaneously. But here, right? You can't say he's removed from this.
You just said ikar din was the kiyam.
Why though?
No. You'll see. Right now, he's saying that.
You said he can't remove from ikar din, therefore it's kiyam.
Therefore it's kiyam. Correct. That's why it's kiyam.
What's the ikar din?
The reality of the
existing independently of the chiyuv.
Correct. Not independently. Prior to it, it never exists independently.
It never.
Right. He was Makayim the din.
Okay.
Right. So I hear that also. In other words, what's also one point that's being made, which I hear, is that in order for the chovas Pesach to be removed, we want something more than just simply saying this. We want kiyam mitzvah. You're saying kiyam mitzvah is what's allowing the chovas Pesach to be removed from the katan.
It has to be in the same form as the korban.
Right. Okay. So hold on. Right.
בעצם מעשה מצווה דהו אכילת matzah.
Right, so by matzah, what does he say? So matzah, you have a maisa mitzvah, right?
Yeah.
But what don't you have?
Like keep separate from that.
Right, he says, leka shum chalos din ala chefsa. There's no chalos din on the chefsa. There isn't, this doesn't work over here. Right? It works here, but not here.
There's no what? Sorry?
There's no chalos din on the chefsa of matzah.
What's chalos mean?
Like
Chaloshem.
Yeah, chaloshem. The rak the chovasa b'mitzvah he demishavile the kiyum mitzvah. Rather, the chiyuv mitzvah is equivalent to the kiyum mitzvah. Okay, they're what? So again, he's saying here
Isn't this the first idea?
equals no chiyuv
By matzah?
by matzah.
Can you clarify what that?
Vim kein shapir emrina debachar shot debakatim delav b'nei chiyuva.
No, memela.
Leka babu. Gam the kiyum mitzvah.
So since the katan was never a bar chiyuva, so by definition there can never be a
Kiyum.
kiyum. Okay, keep going. Lefi zeh miyushav heitev.
Ad Pesach Rambam. The loch shagidol pater.
Be Pesach Sheni.
Given the kiyum gam mitzvah Pesach.
So now this answers up the Rambam at this point. Because why? Because the thing is that the katan went ahead and became a gadol. Of course he's pater Pesach Sheni. Why? Kevan the kiyum gam mitzvah Pesach. So there was some sort of kiyum mitzvah Pesach that took place. Okay? Masha Enikain.
The matzah, the lega kiyum mitzvah.
There's no idea of kiyum mitzvah that can exist by a katan when it comes to matzah. Right? So therefore, in that case, if the katan became a gadol, let's say after the first day of Pesach was over, he would now be chayiv in matzah. Okay? So what's he saying here? Why is he dissatisfied with this and insists on doing this? All right? Don't worry about the application of the gadol.
That's not enough.
Because you're going to see I want to get to what the main problem with this is.
Still right now.
Saying that, what does Chatzah Shel Ma'aseh Mitzvah mean? He's taking this idea of Iker Din and giving it its like halachification, so to speak. He's saying that the Ma'aseh Mitzvah of Hakravas Korban is real prior to the onset of the actual Chiyuv. The Chatzah meaning. The Chatzah Shel Ma'aseh Mitzvah means the Iker Din. It's the equivalent. He's giving its halachic expression. He's saying that.
You know he's part of the process, he has to say.
Correct. Exactly. In other words, he's saying. What does he mean by? It doesn't mean. Don't think chefsa like a lulav. What he's saying is that chefsa meaning that there's a halachic reality to the Ma'aseh Mitzvah of Korban prior to the actual chi of Ma'aseh Mitzvah.
And why wasn't it good enough?
That's a very good way to put it. In other words, in Rav Chaim's first version of this, he's giving you the blueprint of what this is. In other words, the blueprint is he's showing you that there's a reality, a halachic reality to Korban prior to the actual chiyuv. But what do you call that? A Chatzah Shel Ma'aseh Mitzvah. That doesn't answer the question yet, but I'm just trying to show you what he's trying to say. Yes.
Can we get
With Achilas Matzah, there is no reality there's no Chatzah of Matzah. There's nothing to it prior to the chiyuv coming about. There's nothing to it. It doesn't exist. It's nothing. When I'm chayiv a matzah, now I have to start looking at what do I have? Do I have an unleavened bread, whatever it is? The reality of what matzah is only exists after the chiyuv comes about.
Why isn't he saying?
Because it's the actions of the mitzvah that give it its reality. This has to emerge in this. In other words, when you have the chova means now I must do maisas. Okay. When I'm now obligated, when the obligation emerges, now what's the expression of the obligation? The actions involved. So he's saying the actions are the essence. The Maisa HaKrava, the Maisa Achila, all those things are part of the very reality that exists prior to the actual obligation to do those actions. Because the only reality of because it's very simple. The only reason why the Korban has a reality is because you know what's going to happen in the future. Now, I don't mean time future. I'm saying what's going to end up having to emerge.
I mean, the fact that it can be a Chatzah Shel Mitzvah now shows that any mitzvahs around the mitzvah already conceptually exist.
Bingo.
As opposed to matzah, which never
Exactly.
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 Because you're eating nothing.
Right.
There's no mitzvah to eat.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
All right, and then therefore, and this helps us because this is now a love thing, which a chiyuv would work upon. But if you already yotze the Chatzah Shel Mitzvah, then you can't really have a chiyuv on that anymore.
Right. So now let's just get to this last point. So why does he say kiyum mitzvah? Why is that better than
There's
registers.
halacha.
Like Ari was kind of alluding to this before. What? Better than halachifying it.
Somehow he's gonna have to get this all to work out.
No, because
That the chiyuv no longer falls on the katan. That's what he's trying. It has to get.
right. No, that's the objective.
No, so that's why he's making that move.
No, so but why is this better than this?
Register.
No,
Register.
Kal v'chomer. If that's better than that, then we know that's.
No, but you haven't shown me why. What makes it better? What makes it better?
No, just halachically.
What's the nature of the relationship
It's not really better. He's just
versus here?
clarifying it. It's all the same idea. It's not better anymore.
No, but what's the nature of this relationship here? If he registers, what kind of relationship is that? There's a reason why he's setting up this way.
Non-halachic, I don't know.
No, it's a passive relationship. In other words, I'm through Minoi. In other words, what happened? Dad comes along and says, "You're now part of the Korban, right?" And now we have one big mishpacha bringing Korban Pesach. So he's not actively involved in any way, shape, or form. He's simply a passive part of the process.
Problem.
But he doesn't like that. All right,
Why?
because he wants to say, in order to remove a chovas Pesach, just to be passively involved in the asiyah is not enough.
What going to be?
It's what Chaim wants to say is that in order to remove a chovas Pesach, it's not enough just to say there's a passive involvement of the katan, right? But rather, when I say passive, I don't mean he's sitting on a chair passive. You understand? I mean conceptually passive. He's not. He's just like a body, right? Whereas, but kiyum mitzvah means that there was not physically, but you have to appreciate this. Conceptually, he was actively involved. Right. In other words, he partook of the same kiyum, so to speak, that a gadol can partake of. But that's a partaking of. If you call it kiyum mitzvah, you're saying there's a fulfillment, and fulfillment that can remove the chovas pesach. What Chaim is saying is that the way we classify his involvement, we don't classify or categorize his involvement as one of a passive involvement, just by virtue of being part of the asiyah. He's removed this chovas pesach, but rather we categorize him as an active involver, meaning it's a kiyum. A kiyum mitzvah means there's an active involvement. You understand? It means there's a fulfillment. There's a fulfilling of mitzvah. He's part of the fulfilling of the mitzvah. He's not just simply.
Oh, not fulfilling.
No. That's exactly the point. He's not chayav, but he's part of the fulfillment of the mitzvah.
But he is.
No, he's.
In order to fulfill. No.
Understand, naturally speaking, what the problem he's going to have to deal with now. Guys, you have to appreciate what the problem is. The problem he's going to have to deal with now is going to be in the area of minui. Okay, why?
Should also register.
Forget that. Just more basic than that. More basic.
Who can appoint?
Well, the question is like this. The question is, what is the minui expressed from? Okay, I'm just going to set up the issue now.
Please don't skip. Can you stay on this, please? Please give me another minute on this.
No, what through minui is able to remove the chovas pesach, and that's part of Pesach Sheni.
That's a question.
Well, more than how does it work? Okay, that's the conceptual question. Let's just understand the factual question. What was his kasha on the Murray Corcus?
I mean, the Gemara says it's not.
Well, so the Gemara says, "Sel leves avos is sel lav doraisa." Okay. Now, if you think about it, why is this? If sel is sel lav doraisa, if minui is lav doraisa, then what does that do to this?
Minui give a chiyuv, which is doraisa.
No, better. What does it do to Rav Chaim's theory?
Shows it can't be a din in Korban itself.
Right. No. What do you mean? Why not?
Because their Rabbanan came up with this, not.
Right. In other words, like this. In other words, you can't play the substratum card, right? You can't play that card, which is a doraisa idea, and then say the minui, the Rabbanan came along and somehow were involved in including the katan. That's impossible.
The Kaddish Korban is
You
doraisa.
said about two.
Right. So how could it be?
You said two. There weren't.
Let's just take one small step back and look at the debate between Rav Chaim and Mari Korkus at this point. So Mari Korkus is saying that katanim aren't part of Korban. The Torah comes along and says, guess what? We'll make it part of Korban. Torah can do that. It can pull out its ribui card. And now we're going to make the katan part of the system of Korban through what system? Minui.
I'm God.
Okay? Minui. It doesn't matter. Minui. Okay? So now, Rav Chaim's kasha is, he doesn't like that. Right. Why? Because he doesn't want the Torah to create a ribui. He wants it to be
natural,
organic, natural. But no, it can't be, because it can't be natural if the Rabbanan have to come along. Right.
No.
It has to exist in this substratum.
No, it's natural that katanim are not.
So listen to what he says. He says, Ella daha kasha b'divrei Rambam. But now we have a problem in the Rambam. Listen. Miyad Isa ben Adar and Daf Lam Vav Onav. You're going to have to do this Gemara tomorrow, okay? But the Gemara in Adar and Daf Lam Vav Onav says, the Parak Shama Gemara, Elo Me'ata Yavi Adam Pesach Al Chavero, Now you got to pay attention to this, okay? That the Gemara there concludes that a person, an adult, can bring a korban on behalf of his friend, okay? Shekain adam maybe al banav nosav aktanim. So I can now. This sounds like a veer, but it's not. You have to go through the Gemara. I'm not going to tell you the Gemara. I want you to go through it on your own. But he's saying that the Gemara Nadarim has this idea that I can go ahead and bring. If let's say I want to do minoi on my neighbor, okay? Does my neighbor know about it? It's a surprise, all right? Does that register as a minoi for him?
Yeah.
Well, why? No, why would it register as a minoi?
He's passive.
No, because if it can work for,
Passive.
if it can work for a katan, then so too it can work for there's someone else who's not what do you call it, who doesn't know what's going on. So he says, so Amar of Zera, Selaves Avos Lav Daraisa. So Rav Zera holds that Selaves Avos, minui is Lav Daraisa. Dehare, listen to this. Hare de'enu yachol limnos klal bino vito ktanim al pesach mitvar Torah. So now listen to this, Avi. Listen to what he's saying. It's clear from the Gemara. It's clear that mid-d'oraisa, there's no system of minoi by katanim. Mid-d'oraisa, there is no idea of minoi by katanim. Okay, can't make that any clearer. In the Gemara Nadarim, it sounds like at this point that there is no idea of minoi that exists mid-d'oraisa. Okay?
At all.
By katanim, well,
At all.
let's say for now by katanim. Okay? Umishum de'ein adam maybe pesach achavera shlomi daito, right? And as well, right? A person is unable to bring a Pesach for his a Pesach for his neighbor, let's say, without his das midoraisa, right? In other words, if the Gemara Nadarim wants to link bringing Pesach achaver shlomi daito to bino ovito aktanim, right? That's only in the lav doraisa or the dorbanan framework. But midoraisa, could I bring a korban for my friend without his das? No. The same way, midoraisa, there's no minui that exists for a katan. Right, okay, fine, okay? You're going to have to do the Gemara. V'ayim b'Rambam, in Parak Beis, Hilchos Korban Pesach, halacha ches, and we see the Rambam holds openly, shepasak de'ein shokter es Pesach ala gadol shlo midaito. And we see the halacha is, right, you can't be shecht a Korban Pesach for somebody else without his das, without him knowing about it, all right? Okay, and that's the maskana of the Gemara Nadarim. I just want to read this for today, okay? So then he says, Vim Kain, all right? Hakasha, then we have a problem. The Eich Niftar Pesach Sheni. So how is a katan niftar from Pesach Sheni? Meaning, this doesn't work. Substratum idea out the window.
He asks on himself?
Yeah, this does not work. This does not work, all right?
You have to have
Why? He says, because midoraisa, there was no minui of the katan to the korban. There's no minui of the katan to the korban. So in the doraisa substratum of hakravas korban, is the katan related to it at all? No.
Why does it have to be deraisa?
Because that's where this exists in. The Rabbanan can't create this. All right? Let him finish. He says.
So where do you
He says. V'im kein hakasha de'ech nitar pesach sheni came on the midvar Torah nimnal pesach lo so klal ella de beikra sugi de darim de selaves avos lav deraisa. But now you have a bigger problem. So first of all, he's saying that his svar doesn't work because if minui is not deraisa, there's no way, there's no natural relationship between the katan and the korban pesach. But he says, 1 second, but there's a problem in the darim itself. Why? Because he says. Which you also have in your packets. Al had Tnan Yosem Shachtulah Aptropis Yochel Macham Shurotze. The Parach Shama Gemara Shmamina Yesh Beira. Umashan Rav Zera Selabes Avos Selabais Mikol Makom. Uperish Rashi Sham Selabais Mikol Makom. Delo Ba'ina Daito Klal. Va'akorcha Loch Shaykh Zos Dim Brera. All right. So the Gemara Pesachim says. Deraisa, meaning that minoi, what? That's what it means. If it's going to be mikomaka, it means it's deraisa, which means that in his svara
doesn't work.
Still works, right?
No.
So he says v'kasha dahar Rabbi Zera ba'atzmo, and then you got a bigger problem because Rabbi Zera himself says in the Gemara Nadarim this, and the Gemara Pesachim this. So it's not a steer on Chaim, it's a steer on Rabbi Zera.
And just the more stop. Wait.
No, so he says. The sphere leben adarn the celebites la deraisa. V'lo mahanya minu da'ava klal agavek tanam. Ve'ech kamar hacha the celebites mikol makom. So you have a stira. So there's two fundamental problems, right? Fundamental problem number one is if there is an existence of a position that says se is lav daraisa, that destroys his svara. But you have an even deeper problem, which is that there's a stira, because one Gemara says lav daraisa, and the other one says daraisa.
Didn't make him a Korban.
Because Rashi openly says it's midaraisa. You're going to see the Gemara tomorrow. You'll see the Gemara tomorrow. The Gemara says it openly. Okay, so he's saying if that's the case, right? So the bigger problem you have to answer is this. But what's really bothering him? What's really bothering him is that for minoi to work, for minoi to register as something, it can't be something that has to be daraisa. It can't be lav daraisa. That's impossible.
Sorry, what problem did you just say?